Cool. So, this is our first session of our new series called On the DL. This is just going to be a space for um, people who are interested in the Digital Lounge, students, staff, faculty, anybody who's curious about creative media and the programming that the Digital Lounge is promoting throughout the semester. Just kind of an open forum, place to chat, place to talk about the stuff that's been going on, new updates about events that are in the Digital Lounge or on campus, new updates to the kinds of software that we work with all the time, cool art projects and things that we've been seeing around the web from our students or alumni. I think for this first go around, since we're at the start of the spring 2021 semester, it might be good for us to talk about some of our events that are going to be taking place over the next month, since our workshop calendar is now up on our website. We've got some really interesting events that are going to be taking place in February, and we want to make sure that everybody is aware of those. So on our Digital Lounge website, we've got a big news post for all of our workshops throughout the semester. Links here to sign up and RSVP, information about dates and times, detailed descriptions on some of the different events. You could see our On the DL events listed right here. One of the ones that I wanted to talk about is a workshop I'm leading starting next Tuesday, and I'll also have another session in March on WordPress. So, at the Digital Lounge, we see a ton of students come in with questions about WordPress. These are, websites they're doing for class projects. These are final portfolios that they're putting together for, their capstone projects. These are WordPress sites that students are developing for their own personal websites, kind of getting a foothold on the web and putting some of their content that they've been working on out there for, internships or to have links available for job interviews, things like that. And so, this introduction to WordPress is just that. It's an introduction to WordPress. WordPress is a huge platform. There's hundreds of thousands of WordPress developers around the country. There are, small personal blogs all the way up into large government and corporate websites that are all managed through WordPress. CNN's website is a WordPress website. The White House uses WordPress for their websites. So yeah, I feel like a lot of times people think of WordPress as just kind of a little first-time blogging platform, but it's way more than that. And so our workshops will be going into what WordPress can be for you if you're setting up your own personal website, but hopefully it would give students and staff and faculty who are interested in joining in on these events an idea of the interface and the kinds of things that they can do with WordPress, not just for their own projects, but ideally stuff that they could take on when they go to work for another company that might be having, a WordPress backend for their website, or maybe they're, working with a small startup and WordPress, or, that company doesn't have a website presence yet. WordPress is a really, really simple, free way to get started on the web. Yeah, again, our detailed descriptions are all on our website. So if anyone's curious, we'd encourage them to stop by our Digital Lounge site, take a look at our calendar, read through our descriptions, and RSVP for one of our open dates. We'll also be doing a refresher on Microsoft Office 365 and Teams. So, this is office work. It's not, I think, out of most people's realm of expertise. Most people, know a little bit about Microsoft Office. You got Word, you got Excel, you got PowerPoint, the kind of basics. But now that we're all working remotely on our classes and in our class projects, and for the places we're doing internships with, all online, Microsoft Office actually has really great options for students and staff and faculty at Annenberg and beyond for collaborating with their classmates and coworkers. When Annenberg first went remote, that was one of the first things that we did as staff was make sure that everyone was familiar with Office 365 and the kind of cloud apps and solutions that are available, along with Microsoft Teams, which is sort of like and I always think of it as kind of like a hub for all of the Office 365 stuff. So you have, chatting, you can chat with people, you can do video calls, you can, have shared notes, shared documents, everything is located all in one place. So it's kind of a really simple, clean interface to interact with all these apps and then collaborate on documents. You can co-author, Word docs if you're creating outlines for presentations. You can do that with your teammates. Pull up Excel files with people together and take a look at data. All of that can all be done through Teams. So I'll be doing a refresh on Office 365 just to make sure everyone didn't, lose some of that info over the last year or so of us all being staying safer at home. And this is primarily geared towards faculty and staff, since that's the primary Office 365 and Microsoft are kind of the primary accounts for staff. But students are welcome to join as well. Some of this might not be super applicable since you all have Google accounts and use G Suite. But definitely relevant if you are curious about Office 365 and some of the options that are available to you. Even as students, you get accounts for Office 365 apps. So yeah, that's starting up next Friday, and we'll be going on for a couple weeks after that. Erica, I think you wanted to talk a bit about the Photoshop workshop that you're going to be leading for us starting in a few weeks.
So yeah, later on in February, there will be a compositing workshop in Photoshop. And so Photoshop is one of the many Adobe programs that come in your free Creative Cloud license. And so Photoshop is great for if you like don't know where to start with Adobe. This is a great beginner program for you to just dip your toes into and start getting to know like the interface of the programs and just being able to just start doing simple things. It's mainly used for like photo retouching and editing and also digital art. So in this workshop, we'll actually go over compositing. So that's basically just editing several photos together to make it look like they were in one original photo altogether. So like it's really good for like very basic things like just retouching a photo, like if you want some to get rid of some pimples or something, or if you want to Photoshop in a family member who wasn't in a family photo, and it can go to really complicated things like compiling tons of photos together to create like, let's say you're making a movie poster or something, or it has a lot of uses. So we'll go over tools like selection tools, transformation tools, masking, basic things like that that'll help you just edit your photos together, and also like adjustment and blending layers to just fix the look of everything. And so, yeah, that's basically what we'll go over in these workshops.
Cool, thanks, Erica. Yeah, I mean, I think something that we wanted to kind of give a little bit of insight on, or our perspective on, is just like why this stuff seems relevant. Erica just listed a bunch of different kind of applications for just one Adobe Creative Cloud application, just Photoshop, which is, I think a lot of people's entry point into doing anything with creative media digitally. You might paint or draw on your own, but doing stuff digitally might be a little bit intimidating if you haven't done it before, especially if you open up Photoshop and there's, tons of these different tools. And you don't really know where to start or what to do. So yeah, this workshop I think is a great place to start for those of you who are new, or to brush up on your skills if you've played around with Photoshop on your own but never really had any real kind of professional level training. Um, but yeah, I think my perspective at least is that the Adobe Creative Cloud and like a lot of these creative media applications are really becoming kind of standard expected knowledge for a lot of people. I mean, if you go out and are working for, a PR company, or you're working for, some small print publication or something like that, they're going to expect you to know how to use, a Word document. They're going to expect you to know how to navigate through spreadsheets, in Microsoft Excel or something like that. And a lot of places I think are starting to expect you to have at least a basic understanding of what it means to do some image editing, do some maybe some light graphic design work for new web page. I know in my personal experience this stuff has been super invaluable. I've always felt that even at some larger companies that weren't primarily focused on design and creative media, that I was just a person working in an office, but I felt a little bit more secure in my position because I had this background in creative media. So I knew, I'm the go-to person when, they don't need just some spreadsheet to be updated or some emails to be typed out, but they need some help with anything, beyond that basic level of like Word document editing. Um, I've done everything from, managing websites for e-commerce platforms. I've, I've had to run a fashion photography studio doing photo editing. A lot of it that is in Photoshop. Done logo design and branding in Adobe Illustrator. You know, these aren't these were, never really like just my primary responsibilities at these other positions that I've had before I started working with Annenberg. Um, but they, over time, showing that you have this kind of technical capability and kind of a creative eye towards this stuff, I think does like, really do you credit in the actual workspace. Plus, before you're in the job, I feel like it's a smart skill set to be able to list on a resume or on your LinkedIn. You've got a website put up that clearly shows some of the work that you can do in Photoshop, or making a reel in um, Adobe Premiere. These are things that not everybody can do, and so they really help make like kind of a distinguishing characteristic between you and any other applicants. Um, Erica, I know you've got some experience just on campus too, like outside of professional world.
Yeah, right. Like if you're in any clubs or organizations, like they need advertising and they need like Facebook headers or like Instagram posts and stuff. And, learning Photoshop or like any of the Adobe programs like Premiere, Illustrator, really great for those clubs being able to make that content. And then plus that also helps with any resumes and like jobs nowadays. Yeah, as Josh was saying, it really does give you a boost because a lot of jobs, like in like their job descriptions, they do list like they prefer if you have like certain software knowledge, like Photoshop, for example, or like Excel or Word or something. So this always does give you a boost when applying for jobs as well.
Yeah, I mean, that could feel a little bit like, it's calculating like, okay, I'm going to make sure I can check off this box and this box and this box on my, resume checklist or whatever. Um, but that stuff matters, especially if you're one applicant and, a sea of other applicants. That, that little extra boost can totally help. And it doesn't have to just be a certification. Like you can get through us at the Digital Lounge, it can be something as simple as, feeling comfortable enough to do some light photo editing in Photoshop. Um, Aside from just that resume checkbox, though, I feel like a lot of this is just really interesting. Like maybe I'm like a, kind of a techie nerd or something like that. I'm into learning about all of this software. I'm into learning about creative media. I'm into playing around with it on my own. Ever since I first started using Photoshop and Adobe programs, just like making funny video slideshows with my friends of all our photos that we took, when we were on some vacation, or messing around with, my friends' profile photos and sending them to them and stuff like that. It's just fun stuff to do. Um, and I feel like something that I've been thinking about more recently over the last few years is that I think, and Erica, maybe you could comment on this or back me up, that I think knowing what tools are out there and how these tools are used has helped with my just kind of like general media literacy. Like I imagine someone who is a journalist or someone who is going into, public relations or advertising, um, knowing about what the creative media tools are out there, knowing how professionals are using them, knowing what techniques are available, helps them do everything from, you know, scan through advertising and see what's effective and what's not effective, what is, well executed and what's not well executed. Um, you know, there's concerns about image manipulation and, document authenticity. And, a lot of these things start to come up just from kind of having a baseline understanding of these tools and I feel like that wasn't something that I sought out to learn. It's just something that I feel like I naturally now have like a, pretty good handle on because I've used these tools so much that, um, some weirdly photoshopped image that at a glance might look, believable or something, I have a little bit more of a skeptical eye towards that kind of stuff. And especially now with, Adobe publishes a lot of information on some of their new updates they've been making to some of their applications, but there's lots of these new AI tools that are coming out that can do things that are really, really difficult to detect, like, changing the emotions of a photo. You've got a photo of one person's portrait and they're making, some certain expression, and this algorithm can switch that over and, make it look totally different. There's it's a pretty quickly changing field, and it's not always something that's super, super easy to detect. I don't know, Erica, do you feel like this has given you like I don't know, kind of like an expert's eye on this kind of stuff? Do you feel like when you're out there just, scrolling through Instagram, seeing ads or watching, movies or something like that, you can kind of pick things apart a little bit and see how things are made?
Definitely does make you more aware of everything all like being out put out there. Like just
Mhm.
being this yeah, using like the Adobe programs and this like with your sorry. Using the Adobe programs on yourself, it's like yeah, when you see an ad, you're like, oh, that's probably definitely photoshopped or like they definitely retouched that and just now yeah, it definitely does open your eyes to what's going on behind the scenes and then that is very helpful for like when you're thinking about making your own stuff like what what works the best. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's not just technical knowledge, which like, that's what our workshops and programming is geared towards. It's like, here's technically how you use the software, but ideally you take that technical knowledge and then you start to see how it's being applied out in the real world and kind of pick and choose the stuff that you're interested in, what you see works, what you want to pull into your own projects, what you think is, you know, not a great execution of a particularly bad, like, advertising Photoshop filter on somebody's face or something like that, yeah, it just feels like, again, back to that phrase media literacy, it feels like just kind of like required knowledge at this point, to really have an understanding of what people are doing and how these tools are being used out in the real world. Um, Cool. So those are our big events that are coming up in February, and I guess a little bit of our perspective on why they're valuable to you all. The other big thing that we do throughout the semester are our certification courses. So just a quick update that we should be posting our sign up information relatively soon on our website. We're hoping to have those up signups available for you all and for students who are either taking an Annenberg course or an Annenberg major or minor to be able to get into whatever certification course they're looking to take. So if you don't want just a simple, 2-hour one-off workshop in Photoshop, but you really want to take, a deep dive into the program and learn from one of our Adobe experts, really the ins and outs of the program from start to finish, basically. The certification courses are the way to go. And I feel like the best way to keep on top of that info is to follow us on Instagram or on Facebook. We're just at Annenberg DL. Erica's managing our social media feed. She's posting stuff all the time, stories and posts about updates. And so, follow us there. You can get those updates on when certification courses go live, but also updates on all the different events that we're going to have throughout the semester. We've got one calendar posted on our website, but this is going to be updated as new events pop up throughout the term. So yeah, following us on Facebook or on Instagram is a pretty good way to keep up to date. You don't have to manually go to our website and see if there's been any updates. We'll just send them out to you that way. Um, Speaking of events, there are a couple that are coming up on campus that I thought maybe would be um, sort of interesting. They're kind of tangentially related, not digital lens programming, but stuff that seems like kind of related to the things that we're into doing at the Digital Lounge. Visions and Voices has a few this term. Next week, as part of their Black History Month, there's an event called The Just and the Blind, which is a really highly regarded kind of multimedia experience that they'll be putting out online for the USC community. This is campus wide. And if you're interested in design, if you're interested in film, if you're interested in just general art and creativity, this is a great execution of that and covers some important topics that the campus community has been discussing over the last year or so pretty intensely. Another event, LA local, Ice T will be as part of the Visions and Voices event series, also speaking. And this is something that, again, not technical skills, workshops or anything like that, like we do at the Digital Lounge, but just general art and creativity. If you're interested in, how somebody created a kind of media personality for themselves and the kind of experience that they've had, worth taking a look at this event here. Again, online, so pretty easy to RSVP. You can search for these events or just go to visitingvoices.usc.edu to find out more info. Another one that I'm super interested in, because I just watched this Netflix documentary, is this interview with Fran Lebowitz and our own Annenberg professor Josh Kuhn. You don't know already, there's a pretty popular new Netflix series directed by Martin Scorsese and Fran Lebowitz, who is kind of a cultural commentator in New York, a pretty popular figure, writer. Um, Super interesting, super funny, really sardonic, and kind of take a critical eye towards living in a big city. And while we're out here in LA, experience is a little bit different. Um, Definitely a fun documentary, and should be a pretty interesting conversation series. This is starting in a little less than a month on March 2nd. Some Annenberg specific events, though, we've got a alumni group that will be meeting on the 18th, February 18th at 4. And these are alumni who went on to work in the film and television industry. So, you know, with the skill set that you're learning with Digital Lounge workshops and in your coursework at Annenberg, this is, career path that you might be interested in, and probably worthwhile checking in to see what some of our previous alums have done, and what they're doing currently out in the film and television industry. For those of you who are on the comm side of things, we've got a really great Lunch with a Leader event coming up on next Friday, February 12th. The Director of Corporate Media Relations at Facebook will be joining us for a conversation. Again, encourage you all, if you're interested, to RSVP for these, since these events are all online. Seating might not be limited, but space might still be limited in the Zoom room. Zoom does have limits on the numbers of people that can attend any of these events. So if you're curious, RSVP now, get your place in line so you can join these events. Definitely don't want to miss out on these. And, they come and go pretty quickly. So keep an eye out for those there. One more, that this is actually a series that we thought would be pretty interesting for students who are curious about brand strategy and what that means for a professional career. The Digital Lounge has, again, technical workshops on things that would be related to a career in brand management and brand strategy. This is a place to get a little bit more of a specific understanding of what that might mean. This is starting next week, so if you are curious, definitely RSVP here. This is a 2-part series, so this is part 1, and if you go to the Annenberg events page, it's just annenberg.usc.edu/events, then you'll be able to sign up for the second part as well. So those are some of the highlights of the events that we've got coming up at the Digital Lounge over the next month or so. Events around campus and events at Annenberg. I feel like this on the DL sessions that we'll be holding throughout the semester are a good way for those of you who are interested in our programming and programming that's kind of related to creative media and technology, to get a good idea of what's coming up, and so that you don't miss out on any of these events. We'll be checking in the last Friday of every month throughout the spring semester. Erica, any final words on this first session?
Just get ready for all these February events. And there's also a weekly workshop series held by Hannah, who some of you have probably taken her like Photoshop classes, but she holds these every Wednesday evening at 6:30 PST. So if you want to hop onto her Behance Live, then go for it.
Yeah, definitely a good point. Again, another good reason to follow us on Instagram. We're always posting information about these specific events. Hannah's one of our Adobe experts who leads some of our certification courses, and she does a live series on Behance for Adobe. So these are some specific training opportunities there, straight through Adobe. Again, totally free, things you can sign up for online and attend. So if you're looking to get a little bit of extra one-on-one time with Hannah Messer, then we encourage you to follow us on Instagram so that you could see those live events and get the links to join in. All right. Well, thanks for sticking with us the last half an hour. We'll see you guys in a month.
Thanks.